Knicks fans just want to enjoy Game 3, the first home game that we've had in 27 years. But it also is not clear to me that Donald Trump is a big Knicks fan. I mean, does this guy even know the difference between Karl Rove and Karl Anthony Towns? I don't think so. He's just injecting himself into the NBA Finals.
Okay. All right. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries not happy about President Trump's plan to attend Game 3 of the NBA Finals here in New York City at Madison Square Garden, where the president grew up, where he has spent the majority of his life. We're going to show you pictures in a moment of him enjoying the games back in the 90s. But obviously, even without the president as an element, which obviously makes it a huge part of this, there's a tremendous amount of security around this game, no matter what the situation is. But in this case, we have Secret Service, federal air marshals, the NYPD, tactical teams that are also going to be employed. Retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent James Galliano is here. But first to correspondent Nate Foy, who's out there on this beautiful New York day. The city is so fired up about the New York Knicks. It's an awesome time to be in New York, and you've got a great assignment today, Nate.
I have the best assignment in the entire company today, Martha. And you're right, the city is buzzing as the anticipation builds ahead of Game 3. And coming up here shortly, the NYPD is going to shut this area down. At 4 o'clock, they'll be establishing a security perimeter where if you don't have a valid reason, you will not be able to get close to Madison Square Garden. And this has to do with President Donald Trump's attendance at tonight's game. Now, there's also changes for fans who are attending the game in person. The Knicks sort of put out a warning to their fans. Take a look at this statement. They have to get here early. Look at this. Fans should expect enhanced security measures when entering Madison Square Garden, including TSA-style screening procedures. Guests are strongly encouraged to arrive at least 2 hours before tip-off to allow additional time for screening and entry. Now, fans will also not be allowed to bring bags inside. The president's visit comes after last night's stabbing at Penn Station that injured 5 people. This is Trump's first time at MSG since he attended a UFC fight shortly after the 2024 election. He'll be the first sitting president to attend an NBA Finals game. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani will also be there tonight. He's actually welcoming Trump to celebrate the Knicks, but isn't planning on sitting with the president and doesn't intend to talk to him.
I don't have any scheduled meeting with the president. However, I'm sure that our conversations will continue about how to serve the city.
President Trump is expected to sit in a suite tonight. He has been invited by Knicks owner James Dolan, who is a member at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club and has contributed to several Trump campaigns. We'll send it back to you, Martha.
All right, Nate, thank you very much. With that, let's bring in James Galliano, retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent. He served as senior team leader of the FBI New York SWAT team. Extensive experience in protecting these kinds of events. And, of course, he's a Fox News contributor. So, James, it's great to have you with us. A New Yorker. I just want to bring up, just to deal with Hakeem Jeffries' comment there at the top. These are pictures of President Trump at Knicks games. As I said, he grew up here in Queens and obviously worked most of his career in New York City. This is in 1991. The Knicks made it to the finals in 94 and 99, so that was a very hot period for the Knicks. There's another picture here in 2006 of President Trump attending a Knicks game as well. He's a huge sports fan. He has a deep bank of sports trivia knowledge that I think would probably surprise most people. I'm pretty sure he knows exactly who the lineup is for tonight's game. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Good to be with you.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about tonight, and let's start actually with the police commissioner. She's got a lot on her hands these days. She's an incredibly capable commissioner, Jessica Tisch. Here's what she said about tonight.
There will unfortunately be no watch party outside of Madison Square Garden for Game 3 of the finals, and no access to the immediate vicinity of MSG without an authorized reason to be there. However, the mayor will be hosting a watch party nearby at Bryant Park, and MSG will be hosting 2 watch parties, one at Woolman Rink in Central Park and one at Brooklyn Bowl. We do expect watch parties to resume outside of the Garden for Game 4.
Your thoughts on the safety preparations for tonight, James?
Well, I agree with you. First of all, Commissioner Tisch is the best of the best. I really, the way that she's navigated what she's had to navigate in New York City with the pullback from the policing that we used to do, which was much more proactive, broken windows related. Look, just south of the studios here, between 35th Street and 30th Street, and in between 7th and 8th Avenues, it's going to be a frozen zone. It's going to be similar to what we do on New Year's Eve, which means unless you have a ticket to the game or unless you live there and can prove that you live on one of those blocks there or have business to be there, there will be no vehicular or pedestrian traffic allowed through there. And look, it's not just that small spot right there. It's the rest of the city. We use license plate readers. We use drones. Everybody coming across the bridges. There's a ton of bridges. The tunnels we have, the passenger tunnels and the commuter tunnels. This is a big job, but the NYPD's up to the task. 36,000 cops. They will be married very closely with the United States Secret Service that has the president's personal protection as their #1 job. And Madison Square Garden will be a very safe place to be tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about the White House Correspondents' Dinner and how that guy bought a room, right? And I'm thinking about the fact that Penn Station is literally underneath this basketball court. Does that pose a problem in your mind?
Yeah, and what happened last night, we had some emotionally disturbed person that stabbed 5 commuters in Penn Station last night. Yeah, the White House Correspondents Association dinner was a little tougher because it was a hotel that was active. This is going to be secured from the inside out.
James Galliano, thank you very much. Always great to have you with us, sir.
Thanks, Martha.
Also, a podcast with him on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. Thank you, James.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.